Hello and welcome to this West Yorkshire Football Show special. I'm your host Stephen Downs, and this week we have got a special because we've got two supporters on that, and neither of them are from West Yorkshire, unless they tell me any different. We've got Sam from the Blues Focus podcast, speciality on Birmingham City, and we've also got Ash from the Wednesday week. I love that name, by the way. And yeah, they're both here to talk about the relegation scrap, a podcast I was actually very looking forward to on Saturday morning whilst eating my fry up before the Swansea City game. Town then lost 4-0 to Swansea City, and by the end of it, I was thinking, I'm sure Ash and Sam are lovely people, but I don't know if I want to speak to them. Anyway, we're here. It's Monday night. By the way, just to let you know, please give a like and a share on the video. That would really help us. We've just got to 1,000 subscribers. I was on yesterday with Callum and Zach, sort of giving a lowdown on the defeat yesterday. But yeah, if you took a like on the video, subscribe and comment, get your comments in, that'd be fantastic. We've also got two other shows coming up tonight, a roundtable talk as usual with Lou, Dave, Gaz and Chris. Obviously, Jay and Steve are busy watching Leeds United hopefully lose to Middlesbrough, and they'll be on at 10 p.m. to do the review show. But anyway, let's concentrate on the other end of the table, the part of the table which my team are in, Huddersfield Town. Welcome, lads, to the West Yorkshire Football Show. I'll start with you, Ash. The Wednesday week, absolutely what a week for Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I do excuse my voice. It is a bit hoarse after yesterday. It's been quite a weekend. We are in this position where we are. With 2 games to go, and if you said that to us after 12 games, then I think you are a madman. We've managed to scrape ourselves literally off the floor, and even to be within a sniff. With 6 points to play for is fantastic. So yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm quite bullish after yesterday. So yeah, it's a good time to catch me, mate.
Your turnaround in form is a lot like what we had under Warnock last year, and I feel like we've gone sort of opposite directions, which makes me slightly sad, obviously, in the position we are in. But you must be absolutely buzzing at the moment under Roll.
Just a bit. Absolutely chalk and cheese from Cisco Munez, who we had at the start of the season. It's for our much derived owner and chairman, who has been in the news for all sorts of misdemeanors and press conferences and all sorts of shenanigans. For him to have picked a relatively unknown first managerial appointment as Danny Rule, I would nearly say it couldn't have gone better, but at the minute, obviously, could have won all our games. But the way he has taken to the club, the fans, and basically shipped this team of misfits at the start of the season who couldn't pass together, they couldn't play together, they didn't even know each other's first names, I'm sure, to whip us into some sort of shape to be in the position we are at the minute is fantastic. And I'm biased, I am, but if, and I'm sure we will, get out of this, then there's probably only Kieran McKenna who's been the better manager this season. It's great, really good.
Well, we're getting into the context of what it means for the relegation battle just in a few moments' time, and speaking more generally about each club's season. But Sam, I want to bring you in. Quite a different story, really, at Birmingham City. Tony Mowbray came in, sadly, due to health reasons, has gone out, and I'm sure he's still wishing everybody behind the scenes all the best and maybe doing bits and bats. But Gary Rowett has come in and done an equally superb job of trying to steady the ship there at Birmingham.
Yeah, because I think what you can say about Gary Rowett is what he's done so far is he's added like a bit of a defensive stability to our team, because we just haven't had that really since the John Eustace days at the start of the season. And I mean, our last game, it was a 0-0 draw against Rotherham. We drew 0-0 against Rotherham under Wayne Rooney, all the way back. I think it was in November, December. And those are 2 games that I look at and I go, if we would have won both of them games, then we would have wouldn't have been bottom three, no way. And those are the games you have to pick up 3 points in. So as much as it's been good defensively, and Rowett's definitely improved our fortunes compared to Mark Venus, I just think with 2 games left, obviously Huddersfield next, it's a massive game, and it's typical Blues that we've left it until the very last minute to try and get ourselves out of trouble. And that game, it's going to be horrible, because I don't know if you're going to go to the game, Steve, or not, but I'm not going to the game. I'm literally just going to be refreshing my phone every 5 minutes to see what the score is. It's going to be absolute torture. So this season has been so up and down. Ultimately, we are in the relegation zone now. We need to win that game on Saturday, as I'm sure Huddersfield are thinking the exact same thing. So, yeah, in terms of the whole season, been so dramatic, and it comes down to these final 2 games for all 3 of our teams.
Yeah, it's absolutely mad. And, what I love about football in this country is that each club has its own context, its own story throughout the season. And to be fair, Ash, your story started sort of the end of last season, to be honest. I mean, to go through the playoffs with Darren Moore, the way that whole unravelled in the summer, and the fact that he left the club. Obviously, I can give my context of what I think about Darren Moore, but were you just sort of like, and that could be a 3-hour show on its own, by the way, but we won't go there. I will give my comments further on, but were you shocked at how that whole summer happened? Really, it must have been just like an absolute sort of haze in your mind.
That might have just been the hangover, I think, from Wembley. But no, when the whole summer happened, obviously the euphoric high of qualifying, obviously winning the final, getting to the championship, we knew, all Sheffield Wednesday fans knew, it was going to be a hard summer. If we got promoted or if we stayed in League One, there was going to be some big changes. Darren Moore probably, would he have stayed if we did? I don't think he would have stayed if we'd have failed. But obviously, he got us promoted, so you're thinking, right, the summer, he's going to have a good summer. He'll bring in some of the names he's brought in before, quite impressed with. So on his transfers, not too bothered about how he was going with his transfers, some of the ins and outs. But it was just the Monday evening, just got my phone, just blew up. Obviously, Darren Moore's left his position. What's going on? It's about, I don't know, was it about 3 weeks before the start of season, something daft like that, and we'd not signed anybody, and it was like, we knew it was going to be a hard season with Darren Moore and the owner having no money. We knew it was going to be a hard season, but to start it off the way we did, in the circus of way we did, it was just a kick in the teeth for all Wednesday fans that turned up for that day in the sun. And going into a new season, it's just the way it happened. And then you've got the circus of the owner, the chairman, the way he went about it, the rumours of Darren Moore wanting 3 times his salary in a 4-year contract. And obviously, in hindsight, it was a great call by the owner. But at the time, not many Wednesday fans would have probably thought that. It was how come he's sacked the manager? How come? And for the last few years, there's a lot of Wednesdayites got a lot of real ill feeling against Chansiri. So it's a hard one. But
I couldn't believe that day it happened, Ash. I couldn't believe the day that he sacked him. I was like, I read the statements and everything, obviously, and I was thinking, how the hell are you going into the hardest championship season ever with the teams that's in it? And the fact that you've now got three weeks to the season begins, you've got no play. I think you only had like 9 players on the squad list and maybe a few youngsters. And you're without an experienced championship manager. And then he goes and appoints Zisco, who, all right, I know he got promoted with Watford, but my God, those 3 could have managed Watford in that season and got us up.
Exactly that. It was one of those. It is always the same. I mean, Sam's probably this season had it more than a lot of teams this season with managers. We'll
get on to Sam and Wayne Rooney just in a moment. But.
Yeah. Everyone does look at, obviously the manager's gone and they parted company. It wasn't a sacking for whatever reason. They parted company on the Monday, and there was already a fans forum booked Tuesday night. So there was a couple of 100 fans ready to go in Tuesday to listen to the chairman. And obviously that's a big thing. So had that. And then he came out with the next manager will be somebody you know. You won't have to Google them. So, all right, fair enough. Like, but we knew as fans that money is an issue at Sheffield Wednesday. He hasn't got the money, or he says he's not got the money. He's saying he needed to find $2 million a month. He needed to find so much. He wanted fans to pay an extra £100 to pay the tax bill, and things like that. It was just a circus. So, yeah, he gets rid of Darren Moore, and then obviously even you get rid of your manager in the summer. However, you're always a step behind. You are always a step. So to then employ someone who you think, look at his CV. Not got the best CV, but yes, you're right. It did take Watford up. And I'm sure that's exactly just walked into his job interview and went, Mr. Chansiri, I took Watford up. You need a manager with experience. I'm the man. And then you look at the team sheet, the squad list that he had for Watford, and exactly like you said, Steve, anyone could have probably took that Watford team up.
Yeah.
It is. So, and everyone's well documented the start we had, and then that has obviously impacted on the season we are at, where we are at the minute.
Yeah, and the fact that you sacked him at a time when we employed Darren Moore, we of course got rid of Neil Warnock, which is very well said on this show, and fans know my views on that. We employed Darren Moore, very nice gentleman. I'm pretty sure we had a very nice gentleman in Chris Powell as well a couple of seasons ago. But I just the man could not manage a football. He couldn't even manage, to brew a beer in a brewery, in my opinion. Should have been sacked long before, which you did with Zisco. I think at the time you probably thought, oh my God, we've left it too late in this, to sack him. But we definitely have left it too late with Darren. And I know that there were a lot, even though you went up with Darren Moore, there was a lot of contention around, well, is it, there wasn't a lot of happiness around Darren Moore, was there, to be fair?
It's a strange one. I mean, because we're here talking about sacking managers and getting them in the job for too long. But, I mean, Blues went the other way, didn't they? They sacked a manager who was doing cracking. How's that all about? But I thought I'd get that in. And I think just, obviously, our three teams, it just shows the managerial chopping and changing has impacted all three teams in a very negative way. We had a shocking start. Birmingham had a great start. It's what the owner and the chairmans and the guys who make the decisions see, don't they? It's their decision of when to chop and change. I know it was a bit different for Birmingham because obviously they had new owners, new takeover, people wanting to get certain people in because of the name and all this. And it for Darren Moore, he did have that very likable. That's last season in League One. He really did, and it all helps when you're winning games. I know it, and it's easy to say that, but he did have that, and I don't feel he ever got that at Huddersfield because of it. You didn't get that winning run. You didn't get a 3, 4, 5, 6 game unbeaten when you've got that momentum. And I think
we did in draws. We did in draws. We've got 17 draws this season. Trust me. But he never had any connection with the supporters, and that really is what I think did it for him in the end. And a club like ours, much like you two, you've got to have a manager that has a connection with supporters, and I feel like Darren never did. And Sam, come on to you. I'll come back to you, Ash, about Chansiri, because I know you have a lot to say on him. Sam, obviously, John Eustace, a man that not a lot of Championship fans knew about him, really. I know he kind of done a decent job at the end of the previous sort of season, and they were going to see where he was going to go sort of this campaign, and he started off like a house on fire. And then you've just had a mental moment like you did with Gary Rowett last time and fired him when you were in the playoffs. I mean, you must have put your head in your hands, surely.
Yeah, I mean, the timeline of this season, I think that sums up pretty well, just head in hands, really, because of some of the decisions that have been made. And start of the season, the fans were so optimistic. I think we had a really good summer transfer window. A lot of the players that were brought in, because with Birmingham, we were so used to signing these like loan players, free agents, players that perhaps passed their best and all that stuff. And with the new owners that have come in, they really promised big things for the club. And I think they did deliver on that promise in terms of the backing they gave John Eustace in the summer transfer window. And some of the players that have come in, top talents, and it's like younger players that have still got a lot to prove. And it's people that have been, on the fringes of like the England under-21 side, played for Premier League teams or whatever. And there were some transfers that I was so excited about, like say, for instance, Siriki Dembele, someone that played in Premier League football for Bournemouth really well in the Championship. I remember at the start of the season, actually, when Birmingham played Huddersfield, and Siriki Dembele had a fantastic game at St Andrews. And I think it was, we won 4-1 in that game. Dembele was just unplayable that day. And that was one of the games I looked at and thought, we could actually do something this season. And then the following game against West Brom, our derby, we won 3-1 then. And there was just such a good feel-good factor around the place. And, morale was bouncing, even though the 2 of the stands were still shut because of asbestos issues, which is a whole other story to do with the whole other ownership. But we were literally getting back to where we feel like we belonged, top 6. And then that international break in October, we see the news that John Eustace is dismissed. And much like Ash earlier with the whole Darren Moore story, my phone just blew up with notifications on what was happening. Can't believe we got rid of the manager, Rowett 2.0. But then we were kind of thinking, well, who's going to be brought in then? Because Eustace did actually have some critics in his time for playing football that's a bit negative, I guess. But then you see what happened next, and my phone blew up even more. And it was not just Birmingham fans that time. It was people that I hadn't spoke to in years, people like school friends saying, what's Wayne Rooney doing at Birmingham? And all this stuff. And obviously all those eyes that then come onto the club because of the fact that Rooney's a big name. And obviously that's what the owners were kind of looking for, to get that commercial eye in there with like all different news outlets that haven't touched us in years, all of a sudden then invested in how we're doing, all these like media people, Rooney being their mate or whatever, not saying anything bad against him. And then obviously he went on that run, and it was a disastrous run. I think we won 1 home game, 1 away game, and we fell down the table. We went from 6th place all the way down to 21st. And then when it was that Leeds game during the Christmas period, I think that's when all the fans thought enough's enough, because the players just weren't playing for him. There wasn't a set system. And then we got rid of Rooney. And then Tony Mowbray came in. And this is an appointment that a lot of Blues fans are on board with. I mean, they saw what happened with West Brom. He done really well there. Some of the attacking football he's played at Sunderland, at Blackburn, getting the best out of some of these young talents he's had there. And a lot of Blues fans are on board with the appointment. And with Mowbray, we started playing really good football. And there was a game in particular, Sunderland at home in February, that was a sellout at St Andrews. Our first proper sellout in years and years, because of what I mentioned before, the stadium issues. And we played really well that day. And again, that feel-good factor returned. But then the following game, we found out that Mowbray was taken ill. So he had to step away. And Mark Venus, who was the Mowbray's assistant manager, came in as a caretaker manager. And we didn't win a game under him. And the board then had to change it again. But this time it was out of their hands. And what they decided to do is bring in Gary Rowett, who we mentioned before, from seasons gone by where he was dismissed wrongly. And it was almost like full circle moment where Rowett comes back in, all the way back from 2016, where we made this decision that caused us to finish, 17th or below every season for the last 8 seasons. And then Rowett's come in, tried to salvage a bit of form. And I think we have got a bit of form back, but it's still a thing where we're in the relegation zone, 2 games left to play. And we find ourselves in a situation now where we've had 4 permanent managers, 6 altogether, including caretakers. And it's been such a turbulent season, and still a lot to play for. And hopefully this isn't the season we go down, because we've had so many near misses over the years. I mean, I think it's 4 last day relegation battles we've had since we dropped down to the Championship. So yeah, just absolutely crazy.
Not as many relegation battles as what we've had. So when you get my record, then come back to me. Hold my beer. Just some comments coming in. Callum says, "Hi mate." Yeah, hi mate. Enjoy the show. Louis, who's on later, says, "Be careful with me, gents. Give me an easy time, because I've got to do the show later." Yeah, you are doing anyway, so you don't worry about it. Yeah, Sam. In terms of Rooney, that to me was just the most head-spinning moment I've seen in this division for quite a long time. And my God, we've seen some crazy decisions over the years. But, to bring in a guy that has, I'm sure he had less than 17% win ratio out in the United States, a lot of credit given at Derby County under certain circumstances. But I think that is now becoming quite apparent that, seeing here at Hull, had a lot to do with
definitely.
that as his assistant, and therefore, Rooney on his own causes absolute chaos. And I mean, I watched a few highlights every week of Birmingham's games, and there never seemed to be a plan, Sam. I mean, there were players that were good players, like you've said, that you've signed, and it looked like they'd just no idea. They'd never played on a football pitch before under him.
Because I do have a little bit of sympathy for the players and the fact that they've been told to play in so many different ways this season, and we did make a lot of new signings. So again, it's that thing of players becoming familiar with each other. But I just think now in the position we're in, Gary Rowett, I think the board have decided not to go for this no-fear football that they said in a statement when they appointed Wayne Rooney. And it was a statement that's really come to backfire, because ever since they said about wanting to play no-fear football, all the fans have just been fearing how we play every week because it's just not been producing results. And obviously all like the memes and the banter that got sent about Wayne Rooney, like we've really been through the mill this season, Birmingham fans. And we've sold out the Huddersfield end for that game. Norwich at home on the final day, we've already sold out for that game. So the fans are on board with it. And I think what they're on board with is they're on board with the project and what the new board actually want to do, because the plans they've actually set out have been really good. And like, I think the board are just really good people that made one really bad decision, and we're still kind of suffering from it, because there's bits and pieces from the Rooney era that still remains in the fact that, I mean, in the coaching staff, Ashley Cole's still an assistant coach. a lot of the other coaching staff fell away. I mean, there was John O'Shea, who was part of the coaching staff. He didn't want to know as soon as Rooney got sacked. Pete Shuttleworth's actually still part of the staff, but he's now got a different role, not quite the same as what he had before. Carl Robinson, assistant manager, he's gone. But I just think the whole Rooney era, I don't know if you remember, like when he came out and said about, I wish I could make 11 changes at half time, bashing the players publicly, all this stuff. And the fans just never took to Rooney. They just never took to him. And it was the first home game against Hull that the players were actually booed off at full time. And I don't think I can ever remember a manager being 2 games in and the team's already being booed off. That's quite a rarity. When you get a new manager, you expect a bit of a bounce, but it's a weird situation we're in because we were doing well anyway. So we didn't need that bounce because we were in the playoffs, top 6. But then, Rooney had his own ideas, wanted to play a certain way of football that the players just were not comfortable with and not suited to as well. And there are some people saying that perhaps he had a transfer window, he could change a few things. But the sooner he was gone, the better, because he just did not get the club. And he said stuff publicly. He said on the overlap that he wasn't given enough time. Of course, he'd say that. And obviously all his media friends are backing him up. So people that just don't really understand the club. And hopefully when Tony Mowbray's well enough, he can come back next season. And regardless of what division we're in, hopefully we can actually have a season where we win more games than we lose. That would be a positive. So we'll just see what happens.
Just to touch on that finally with you, Sam, before I come back to you, Ash, what is the state of play with Mowbray, and how do you think that'll operate with Rowett? Obviously, I know he's only been given a contract till the end of the season. If you want my opinion, I think obviously we'll come on to the relegation battle and what might happen this weekend. But if we go down, I would be if I'm talking as a Huddersfield Town fan now, I think we should be speaking to Gary Rowett to come and manage us in League One. Probably won't want to, but I'd certainly try and get him. Do you think, Mowbray will come back? Do you, what's the state of play? You're closer to things over there than what I am.
Well, there's been a big silence, and it's been a bit of a worrying silence, because we had the initial statement to say that Tony Mowbray had been taken ill, but we haven't really had anything since, and that was back in February. So we've had bits and pieces with like Mark Venus being asked about how Mowbray's health is, and he said he's doing all right, but we've not had any positive news really since the initial diagnosis. And obviously it's a private matter, so it's best to be kept, out of the public eye, because you don't want any speculation around somebody's health. I just don't think that's right. So ultimately, we all wish Mowbray the best, and we hope he's back for next season because the fans are on board with him. And in terms of what you said about Gary Rowett, I mean, so far he's not done an awful job. I mean, there have been managers this season at Birmingham that have done worse jobs, we've already spoken about. But with Rowett, at least he's someone that the fans like and the fans really take to, because we've had some good performances under Rowett. I mean, you look at the FA Cup yesterday with Coventry versus Man United, and the fact that was 3-3. We beat Coventry 3-0 the week before. No real problems. We didn't have the same problems as Man United, where it came to keeping a clean sheet against Coventry. And I just think that if we made perhaps the appointment a bit earlier, obviously you can't foresee what's going to happen with Mowbray's health, but if Mowbray was taken out of action, then Rowett came in straight away after the Mowbray diagnosis, I reckon we'd be all right. But because of those 5-6 games we had with Mark Venus as caretaker manager, that has ultimately left us in a position where we're still fighting for our lives in the Championship. And I don't know if Rowett want to go back down to League One. He said publicly that maybe he wants to look for another Championship job afterwards. But with the coaching staff he's got at Birmingham, he's got Paul Robinson as assistant manager, who was Birmingham's captain when Gary Rowett was there. And I think there's stuff to look forward to with Rowett still, but it's all about just getting through these games. I don't care how we play, style of football goes out the window. As long as we get the points to stay up, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Thanks for beating Coventry 3-0, by the way. That really helped us out. I was really, really appreciated when I saw that scoreline. Ash,
Complete shock, like the rest of the season.
We'll come on to ownership now, and I will come back to you, Sam, because I think our clubs have got a bit of synergy. American owners going about it sort of the same way with the big plans, but making bad decisions on the pitch. But your owner, Ash, is just an absolute crazy man, if I can put it politely. There was one probably. There's only ever been one owner that I think's a bit more mad than yours, and that was Cellino at Leeds. But Chansiri, he gives him a run for his money, doesn't he? I mean, making statements halfway through the season that read like a book that make absolutely no sense. I mean, to be honest, I found it quite funny reading them because it's not funny. It's not funny. I know it's not funny for you guys to read, but to everybody else on the outside, it just looks like he's got no idea, has he?
At one stage, we had more statements than we did points from the chairman. So it's well documented, like I said before, about the club, the owner. There's a growing fan base that are calling for him to leave. They're getting very vocal. They've done quite a bit of protesting around the ground at games on Sky, and they've got a bit of media behind them. So there is a certain section, and it is growing. Obviously, it's when the results come, dies down a little bit. But obviously, we are in the position we are, and I imagine that will grow again if Saturday doesn't go the best, and then the following Saturday doesn't, and we are in the bottom three. I'm sure they'll be very vocal again against the owner. He has made some very strange decisions. He has, and he's got quite a lot of things off the pitch wrong. I mean, probably the only two things for me that he's probably got right this season is employing Danny Rule, and 2 weeks ago he did a meal deal for £5. You got a pie, a drink, and a little tube of Pringles for £5, which I think was banging for me. Being a guy of a certain size, I enjoyed that. So,
what flavour though? What flavour? What flavour Pringles?
Oh, they were ready salted. There was the green, the sour cream. There's barbecue. There's salt. There was a choice. And they were in date as well. So
that's always important, isn't it?
You look at the bottom, but he has got a lot wrong. There is a hell of a lot of things still to put right, and serious investment all around the club, not just on the field, off the field. Hillsborough, I love the Old Girl. It's a proper old stadium, and that's the problem. It is a proper old stadium. It needs TLC. It needs money, and at the minute, he's not putting that investment into the club off the pitch, and he's not really put as much money in as we'd hope on the pitch. We've signed a lot of free players. We've signed a lot of loans. It needs a lot of money, and I don't think he's the guy. I would love somebody to come in, but then again, it's better the devil you know, is it? Sometimes, like I said, we like Sam, Birmingham got a new consortium in, and they thought they could bring in the name, and it all gone a bit pear-shaped, and I don't know what it's like being run off the pitch and for a day-to-day for a Blues fan. But for on the exterior, if somebody came in and we were sixth and sacked the manager, I'm sure you get off onto a wrong foot, and it's happened for Birmingham. So yeah, for all Chansiri's failings, and they are many, we are still just playing the bills, and we are still just in the Championship at the minute. But regardless of what happens until on the what will it be, 3:00 on May the 4th, he's got to put money in. He's got to put money into investing in League One if we're there, and then he's got to put lots of money into investing in the Championship, because
are you worried about debts that might come squiddling out from here, there, and everywhere? That's the worry I think you guys have got, where you don't know where the money. He came out with that statement asking for £2 million and putting £100. Each fan had to pay £100. I mean, that came out the blue, I thought, and that was a really worrying sign.
100%. You just don't know, and that is probably one of the problems. He comes across as saying he needs help, he needs this, he needs external money coming into the club, but we don't really see it. We don't see a big sponsorship deal. We don't see, do you know what I mean? Like external money coming in. It always does seem that it's been said that it's his club, his money, and everything, but it's like, you've got to let it go. You've got to, even if you own 51% of it and you're the majority owner, get money in, because the Championship, we've seen owners, you need money. You need money in Championship. You need money in League One. To be a football club owner, you need money. And we just haven't got it. And I'm scared that the good feeling we've got with Danny Rule and some of the players he's brought in, it'll come to the summer and we'll be in the same situation as we did with Darren Moore in the summer. It'll be like, he's left. We've got to find someone else, and we've got to start again with building the club back up. And it's going to be a hard summer, regardless of what league we're in. And I keep saying it, for off the pitch, on the pitch. Chansiri, probably not the right guy, but at the minute that's all we've got, and he doesn't look like he's going to be moving.
No.
So,
Sam, we've got very similar owners in terms of where they're from, at least. We've got Kevin Nagel, businessman, who's come in, bought the club when the summer he officially took over. We thought we were going to have Warnock for at least half a season and then probably work out it whilst in mid-table where we were going to go. That didn't happen. Sacked him after 7 games, and really the whole season has unravelled since there. As I've explained previously, with Darren Moore, and now we've got Andre Breinreiter in, who, is a German who doesn't really know this division, hasn't really had an effect in the transfer window because he's not been able to really have a full say on who he wants to bring in, and it's been a bit of a disaster, really. But the enthusiasm from Kevin, who we've had on this channel before, and we really appreciate his interviews and the fact that we can speak to him. His enthusiasm and the plans that he has around the club, in terms of the stadium, and that's an issue, but what he wants to do with the land around there, how he wants to improve the match day experience for supporters, how he wants to look at different things that are happening around the club. I mean, that seems quite similar to what's happened at Birmingham. Lots of enthusiasm, but not a lot of meat on the bones when it comes to on the pitch.
You're right there, though, Steve, about enthusiasm. And I think, linking back to what you were saying earlier, Ash, about, maybe it being better, about the devil and all that stuff. I think as a fan, if you've had dodgy owners for so long, you kind of just become used to it. And all the stuff, like the rubbish stuff, you just get used to it. You should become accustomed to it, which you should never be as a football fan. If you're paying to go every week or whatever, you should expect a good service from your club. Not just happy about a £5 meal deal, which does sound fantastic, but if you wanted more from your club. And I think with like the new owners that have come in, it's just been such a breath of fresh air for Birmingham fans, because the previous regime, Trillion Trophy Asia, we didn't even know who the owner was. Like it was a fake alias or something, and he never turned up to any games. Didn't know where the money was coming from. The previous chairman or whatever offered to fight fans in the car park, all this stuff, and it was just absolute chaos. And now we've had a bit of clarity and a bit of ambition, and a bit of realistic ambition as well from these owners. It's been a breath of fresh air, and we've had 2 things this season called an open house, where fans have been invited in to the ground to have like a talk with the owners and like people that work for the club now about what the plans are going forward. And it sounds so refreshing about, as you said, Steve, about improving the match day experience and really trying to make a go of it, of making going to football enjoyable, because for all three of our clubs this season, I'm sure it hasn't been enjoyable because of the football on the pitch, but they're trying to do the best that they can with what they can control. And obviously this season they have had a bad decision in terms of what they've done, sacking Eustace at the start of the season. And I reiterate my point earlier about them just being good people making a bad decision. And ultimately in the Championship, if you make a bad decision, it comes back to bite you pretty quickly because the league is so ruthless. And these guys are learning, and I'm confident they're going to be good owners for us going forward. And it's not just a thing of like, oh yeah, they're American, they're showing off, they don't really care about the club, they just care about themselves. I don't think it's that at all. And Tom Wagner, who's the chairman, he went a bit viral recently because before the commentary, I don't know if you guys saw it, whereas like G'ing up the fans is saying it's our house, and people are saying like, oh, he's only doing it for the cameras or whatever. I think part of it may be that to draw off attention, but at the end of the day, he really does care about the club. And obviously, the way that Americans show it, us English, we like to take the mick out of the Americans and all that stuff. And at the start of the season, especially when Tom Brady was on the chairman of the advisory board, and we got all that attention on social media. And the pictures yesterday from when Jude Bellingham scored the winner in El Clasico, and Brady and Bellingham were together with Brady wearing a little Birmingham badge on his suit and all this stuff. It's all like publicity to draw attention to Birmingham. And I think ultimately there's ways to go about it. At the start of the season, we went about it the wrong way. They're starting now to learn about what they can do. The Preston game Easter Monday, after the game, immediately there was a concert, a UB40 concert. So they're really trying to like play to what the crowd wants and trying to make the match day experience a bit more of an enjoyable one. And the owners, I believe they're going to do well, but it's just a matter of time. And obviously, if we drop down into League One, it does make the task a bit harder, but the board have said themselves that they're not going anywhere. They're here for the long haul. They've bought a 44 acre plot of land to build a new stadium on and a new complex, which is called a sports quarter, which they plan to have the men's, women's academy all under one roof, all in one area. And there's only one team that's done that in England, and that's Man City. So they really have ambition to try and take the club to the next level, because at the end of the day, Birmingham is the second city. And I think a lot of the big attention goes to other cities around England, you know, Manchester, say, for instance, because they've got Man United and Man City. But Birmingham, it's got a massive population, very similar population to Manchester, and it kind of gets forgotten a bit. So hopefully Tom Brady, Tom Wagner can really entice, you know, potential investors to invest in not just the club, but the area as well. And they've got big ambitions, but ultimately those ambitions have got to go to one side for now and just focus on the next two games.
How do you feel about the communication from your ownership? You know, you talk about these open house events that they have. Our owner, Kevin Nagel, is quite sort of, he contacts people a lot on Twitter, fans. He has a lot to say on social media. Does these diaries with his press person, who they kind of like the video. So I don't know if you've seen him, but the kind of like video diaries where the press guy will ask him questions, and you know they're very sort of open and honest in terms of the communication on fan boards, which, you know, in our previous ownership under Dean Oil, what would tend to happen is you would have a pie and pea night at the training ground where you could go in, you know, have a chat with the owner, ask any questions, and it was kind of more of an intimate thing, where this seems very open, honest, and sort of wider context on social media, because obviously he lives in America, he's not here all the time. But how do you guys find the communication? Do you feel that there are some, you know, did they get it? Did they get British football? Or do you think that they're still learning and that's why they're making mistakes? Because that is one thing that's labelled against Kevin Nagel, that, you know, he's American, he doesn't get the English culture, he doesn't get the British football fan, doesn't know what we are. I mean, it's even harder in our part of the country, and obviously with Ash, because we're dour Yorkshire people. Do you know what I mean? By the nature, we are negative. So how do you find it?
Well, for starters, I don't know what the structure's like at Huddersfield. Say, for instance, like if you guys have got a CEO or like a director of football, stuff like that. What's the structure like at Huddersfield?
So they're British. So the guy, the CEO is called Jake Edwards, who used to run he set up the United States sort of championship league in America, and the director of football is Mark Cartwright, who was the ex-Stoke City director of football. who has been much
Birmingham,
maligned, by the way, by the transfers he's brought in.
Because with Birmingham, our CEO is Gary Cook, and he's someone that has experience in football. He had a similar role at Man City when Sheikh Mansour took over there, and he was the person that really tried to front this new complex what City have got now with what I mentioned before about the men's women's academy all being in the same place. So that was his idea there, and that was his project, and he's trying to now do that with Birmingham. And we bought the plot of land for it, so that's a massive step. And Gary Cook's had some big roles in the past. He's been the CEO of the Saudi Super League there, CEO kind of UFC doing stuff there, Nike as well. And he's a big name in business, and he's a Birmingham fan as well. He used to be a ball boy at the club, all this kind of stuff. So immediately Blues fans take to him as kind of one of our own, and he's got different people structured around. So Craig Gardner used to play for Birmingham. He has a role as a kind of director of football. That's not the official tag, but it's a similar thing where we're trying to have as much structure in place as possible for those people to make the correct decisions, because Tom Wagner, he put in a lot of money to the club. He's got a fantastic business sense, but obviously football and business, you have to have someone that links the two together. So Gary Cook and Craig Gardner have kind of been the people responsible for that. And a lot of people have turned to Cook for what's happened this season with the managerial appointments and kind of blamed him for it, not Wagner. So when Wagner comes in to do a talk, a lot of the fans are on his side and saying, good on you, all this stuff. But then with Gary Cook, they're a bit more hesitant to do so because they believe he's the one responsible for all the managerial chop and changes this season, because supposedly him and Rooney have had business talks together before. Apparently Gary Cook tried to get Wayne Rooney to come over to Saudi Arabia when he was there, all this stuff. So people are kind of blaming Cook for it. But at the end of the day, the business is what matters. And we're really growing in revenue this season, something that the previous board, I'm sure, didn't even know existed in terms of trying to generate funds for transfer activity. And this season, I think, besides the parachute payment teams, we're the fourth best, highest earning revenue team in the league. And that's something that is quite ridiculous when you look at where we are on the table. And they're trying to generate this revenue so they can spend more money in the transfer window because of the whole profitability, sustainability rules. They're trying to find almost loopholes in the system to try and get more money for transfer business. So they're trying to think outside the box with things. And obviously, if we stay in the Championship next season, we can spend a bit more money. League One, it limits us a bit more. But I believe we're on the right track. Obviously, it'll be a bump in the road to go down to League One. But what you said about ownership, I believe these guys are on the right track. And despite the whole tag of Americans, all this stuff, they've got the right ideas in mind.
Good. We've only got about 10 minutes left, so I want to now concentrate on the pitch. It's very important this weekend. Basically, it's Huddersfield v Birmingham. It's Sheffield Wednesday v West Brom against Carlos Corberan, our old manager. The outcomes are this: Huddersfield beat Birmingham, and Sheffield Wednesday get any result. Probably Sheffield Wednesday stay up. Birmingham beat Huddersfield, and Sheffield get a point. That means Huddersfield go down, and then it's between you two for the dogfight on the last day. Ash, I'll come to you first.
Yep.
Are you going to beat West Brom? Please don't. That'd be really magnificent if you couldn't, and if you could lose, that'd be even better.
Yeah, this is part of the show where we're just all gonna big up ourselves and you're all crap. And
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not.
No, it's a tough ask. I've looked at all the permutations. I've looked at who's playing who.
Same. Just literally everything that can happen.
Who plays for who? Who rivals are playing who, and everything that can go wrong. Obviously, we've got West Brom, so you've got the Birmingham issue, and yes. Do Blues really want us to beat West Brom? Of course they do. No, they don't. Yes, they do. And it's all that sort.
I've got family that are West Brom fans, and I've been saying to them, it's down to you guys now to save us. Because with Blackburn, I weren't expecting John Eustace to get anything after what we've done to him. So that wasn't surprising at all.
I think for me, I think the changing of the season was it 2 weeks ago when Plymouth Friday night beat Leicester, and then Blackburn beat Leeds. Obviously, that had implications on both ends of the tables.
It's crazy.
And then we went into our home game against Stoke thinking we've got to win. We were cruising at 1-0, drew 1-1, and then that's it. Huddersfield got a lucky point, didn't they, against
with
the penalty decision.
What do you mean lucky?
And it is
Robbed.
it's been one of them. It's been backwards and forwards. People are getting points out of nowhere. People are losing. And it's just a tussle. And it's come down to the last 2 games. And I think there's about 4 or 5 different permutations of what could happen. So obviously, us 3 are still in there. Plymouth are still in there. Even Blackburn are still in there. But obviously, everyone's going to win the last 2 games, which is not possible with you guys. You 2 are playing each other, so I think it's down to you 2 guys, really, isn't it? If we get, I mean, we play Sunderland last game away.
You're going to win that. You're going to win that.
Yeah.
They're on beach. They can be on the more on the beach if it's possible.
Well, this is what my thoughts were probably a week or 2 ago against West Brom. West Brom were cruising the playoffs, but now they lost against Leicester, and they just need 1 point to guarantee being in there. But then I'm sure they don't want to finish 6th; they want to finish 5th, because whoever finishes 6th looks like it's going to be either Leeds, Ipswich, or Leicester. They're the.
I wouldn't worry playing Leeds. I won't worry playing Leeds. They'll bottle it anyway. So
for us, yes, it's looking like on reports today that it's a sellout at Hillsborough already. They're hopefully going to open up the bottom of Leppings Lane, which is the bottom tier. We've given West Brom 2,400 for the upper tier. If we can sell it out, then we've got all the chance, because the crowd does make it, and it's same for everyone. The crowd made it yesterday for us. Whoever was, we're on about my owners being batshit crazy, excuse my language, but the Blackburn CEO, why he gave us 7,500 tickets in what is probably a relegation battle, I have no idea. But thank you very much, because the 7,400, I think it was, that were there made all the noise, and the manager, the players said that it helped. And then their manager come out with saying, "I'm not going to comment about that being a disadvantage," but he knows it was. So for us on Saturday, West Brom coming. Yeah, it is. We've got to get a point at least, and then it does take it into the final day. And like I said, start of the show, if you'd have told us we were still in with a fight on the final game, then I would have snapped your hand off. And thank you very much. Just hope Sunderland have packed their beach towels.
Give us a prediction, Ash. Give us a prediction
for the game on Saturday for West Brom.
Yeah.
And we'll go 2-1 Wednesday.
Right.
2-1 Wednesday. I think we're still
staying up.
And we are staying up, yes. See, right. I've put my Dewberry's on the line, and we are staying up.
Everybody who watches the Wednesday week needs to comment now saying, "Ash, what an idiot you are. It's going down to the last game."
If they watch every week, they say that every week anyway. But that's it. I've got to back my team. We could be in a worse week. Blackburn, I mean, they're lucky they got their points early, because they've got 2 shocking last games. Ours are mid-table playoff, so could be better, but it's still there. But you guys, you 2 are the ones that have got the game, though, at the weekend. It is the game of the weekend.
It is. Sam, and how are you feeling going into it? Because I'm pretty dejected, if I'm honest, after following a 4-0 defeat. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not going. I'm up in Scotland doing some whiskey tasting, thank God. I did book this whiskey tasting about 6 months ago, by the way, because I thought we'd still have near one and we'd be safe. So
no, you booked it Saturday night.
No,
I
actually didn't. I didn't.
I would be in the bottle of a Macallan 18-year-old or whatever, and not having to face it.
But what will be nice, Sam, and not for you, but what will be nice for me is I take my first sip at this whiskey tasting session, and I've seen that we've smashed you 6-0 or something. That will be delightful. Don't think it'll happen, but there we go. What are your thoughts going into the game, my friend?
Well, my thoughts obviously kind of the same as you, where if we lose, we're relegated. Simple as that. That's no ifs or buts about it. It's just such a massive game, isn't it? The fact that we played each other at this time. I remember a few weeks ago we were saying, Ash, when we were doing the relegation run-in, I remember looking at that fixture and going, yeah, that's going to be the game. And it's going to be enormous for us. And obviously with Sheffield Wednesday beating Blackburn yesterday, drops us down into the bottom three, so it makes it even more important. But we spoke about, you know, our teams being relegated or whatever. I do actually think that Plymouth could get sucked into it now. I think Blackburn will be fine, but I think Plymouth, like, I don't know, because they're 2 points. They're 2 points away from us. I know that, and they've got a better goal difference. But I could see them getting sucked into it. I think with Sheffield Wednesday's games, you'll win definitely at least one of them. I think Blackburn could get a point, which would be fine for them. But Plymouth, I'm not quite sure how they're going to do, because they've got Millwall at home, Millwall away, sorry. And I don't know how they're going to do in that, but obviously our game, we've just got to concentrate on what we can do. And I think with the Huddersfield game, you say how I was feeling, Steve, less confident than I was before the Rotherham game, because obviously we beat Coventry 3-0. You do that, you're on top of the world, and then we can't score against Rotherham. It's the way.
Oh, we did the same, mate. We did the same. So I know I have the exact same feelings as you. The worst division in the season. You know, we went to them. They played 37 games and conceded minus 47 goals. So, you know, it's just madness, isn't it? But are you staying up? Do you think you're staying up? What's your prediction, Sam? Come on, make a prediction. We've got to have a prediction
for the game. Oh God.
Yeah. Come on.
It's head and heart, isn't it? I can't say us to lose. I can't bring myself to do it. I'm sure you're the same. So I'll say 2-0 Blues. That's what I'll say, because I think our defence has improved recently. I do worry about on the wings, because you've got some pacey wingers and our fullbacks like to get forward quite a bit. So I imagine you could capitalise on that. So I'm thinking 2-0 Blues, but obviously I'm thinking maybe a 2-2 draw, something like that. I think there'll be goals in the game. I think you expect maybe, like, because there's so much riding on it, that it's going to be quite cagey. There's not a lot that's going to happen. But weirdly enough, I kind of think it's going to be the opposite, where both teams kind of just chuck everything at it, and there's going to be a lot of attacking opportunities. So I say there'll be a lot of goals. So I will say 2-0 Blues. I'm actually pretty confident about the final day against Norwich, because with Blues, like, each game we've sold out this season at home, 6 sellouts, 6 wins. And for a team that's down in 22nd, that is actually pretty impressive when you look at it, considering we can't do anything away from home. So we really have to rely on our home fixtures. And I said this weeks ago on the relegation running, that we have to rely on our home fixtures. But obviously, if we lose against Huddersfield, that's going to mentally derail the team, I think. So just avoiding defeat in that game is the main thing.
I was going to say, sorry, Steve. I was going to say, Sam, that was it, because for you, I think for Huddersfield, have to win it. But for you guys, if you get a draw, then it's all to play for on the last game. So you don't get relegated on Saturday, but you could do if you went for it and Huddersfield win. Do you know what I mean? So would they be thinking about a draw? I mean, that doesn't help Huddersfield, does it? A draw, but
mate, if we get a draw and you get a draw, we're down anyway. So we've got to win. We haven't got a choice.
Yeah. So it's not like
it's all the permutations, isn't it? Just trying to work it out.
How Birmingham are going to attack the game when they know that a draw is all right, but Huddersfield have to win. But it's just you could drive yourself mad, and it's not even my game. That we just need to win.
I think you'll beat us. Really, after Swansea, I think the lads have thrown the towel in, to be honest, and for us lot, and I think you'll win too. I agree, 2-0. I mean, I think
the best thing about Blues this season has been the fans. Like, the fans have been really good. Like, considering we've got the second worst away record in the league. I mean, no prize for guessing who's first there. But we've literally been through the middle of the season away from home. I think the last 8 games you've got 1 point away from home, and that's where we've really suffered. But the fans have turned up every time. Just the players that haven't. So we just need that bit of discipline that we had in the Rotherham game, but just that cutting edge up top.
Do you know what? I'm going to be positive. Sorry, I'm going to go 1-0 win to Town. Shaky. Last minute.
After hearing we got 1 point from our last 8 away games, you're like, yeah, actually, we can win that.
Is it Huddersfield?
Yeah, Huddersfield at home, yeah. Yeah, we're at home, yeah. Last minute penalty. Rebecca Walsh is going to give it to us.
That was a disastrous decision, by the way. That was such a bad decision when I saw it.
It wasn't. It was fantastic. Always rated the...
No, have you?
This league's refereeing's been fantastic this season.
Oh, don't honestly, we'll be here for another hour if you talk about refereeing. I know that you've got to go, Ash, so we'll say goodbye now. Thanks very much, Ash, from the Wednesday week. Good luck with your podcast. I know you're in the shows tonight. And Sam from the Blues Focus podcast. Cheers, absolutely tremendous to have you on, boys. And if anybody does want to hear what Wednesday and Birmingham are up to, go check out these guys on social media and on YouTube. But from me, Stephen Downs, I'll see you in about 2 hours' time for our roundtable chat for another depressing round of Huddersfield chat, and we'll talk about all things Farsley, Leeds, Bradford, and Halifax, of course, who have got into the playoff picture in the National League. So it's from me, it's from Ash, it's from Sam. See you later.